Summary of Set Boundaries. Find Peace Summary. What the heck are boundaries? Boundaries are expectations and needs that help you feel safe and comfortable in your relationships. Expectations in relationships help you stay mentally and emotionally well. Learning when to say no and when to say yes is also an essential part of feeling comfortable when interacting with others. People often find themselves in uncomfortable situations during their day-to-day interactions. These could range from inappropriate topics addressed at work to repetitive questions asked by your parents or hurtful nicknames given by your friends. Whichever the case, you should address both minor and major inconveniences so that your relationships with people stay healthy. The best way to do that is by setting boundaries. Although you may feel like they create distance, it's actually the opposite. Clearly defining relationships is not an easy task, but the later we start, the more poorly formed attachments you will have to fix. And if you don't start at all, you will have to put up with things you are not comfortable with, and that will bring frustration to your life. Our most common misconception about setting limits is that we should be genuine and selfless, and if we aren't, people will consider us distant. Set boundaries. Find Peace teaches you how to express your limits without seeming cold or distant. Lesson 1: Effective communication and reciprocation are the keys to setting healthy limits. You've probably heard that communication is the key to a healthy relationship. Therefore, it is essential to be open about our particularities with everyone around us. When we don't do that, passive aggressiveness and frustration start to build up. Staying quiet about what bothers us is a common issue. We are expecting people around us to just know what they're doing wrong. Unfortunately, that is not how it works. We have to verbally assert our boundaries and then back them up with action. Try to be as direct as possible, stating clearly what your expectations are. Make sure to reciprocate and kindly notify the person next to you if they do something wrong. Forgiveness and mutual understanding will build healthy relationships. However, you have to define the line between forgiveness and foolishness. Depending on the people and their intentions towards you, you should look for ways to forgive when the relationship is worth saving and withdraw from it when it's not. Lesson 2: Be firm about your limits by imposing consequences on those who overstep their bounds. Letting people know what your boundaries are, it's a great first step. Normally, you would want them to acknowledge your requests and act on them immediately. Unfortunately, your priorities are personal, so they might forget about them and go back to the old ways. When minor inconveniences happen, don't get upset right away. Good things take time, and you might have to remind people of your limits. However, there are certain boundaries, like not wanting to be physically touched at your workplace, that no one should cross. If you find yourself in this situation, you have to impose firm consequences and stick to them. In some cases, you will find that it's better to distance yourself and leave. You have no obligation to stay in a toxic environment and give certain people your time. If you decide to end a relationship of any kind, you might feel remorse or sadness. Tawab affirms that it is perfectly normal to have those feelings, and the best thing you can do is take care of yourself and look after your own well-being. Lesson 3: Learn more about yourself by knowing what you accept and what you don't from other people. Poor boundaries will make you absorb other people's emotions and take them as your own. In contrast, rigid boundaries will make you cold and lonely in the eyes of those around you. That is why you have to reflect on yourself first and find out what are the right limits. It all starts with asking yourself the right questions for introspection. They can be something like, am I comfortable with this? What is an example of a situation that made me feel uncomfortable? How do I want to be treated at my workplace? We have to first know ourselves before we can present that person to others. Finding out the answer to this type of question will make you realize how to construct healthy relationships based on boundaries and help you learn more about yourself. Keep in mind that boundaries are not just about saying no. They're about creating the environment you want to live in and see who wants to be a part of it or not. When you think of it, it is more about saying yes to yourself, your mental and physical health. Self-care is more than taking a spa day, and it isn't selfish. Saying no to helping is an act of self-care. Paying attention to your needs is self-care. And like putting on the oxygen mask, you'll have more energy for others if you apply it to yourself first. If you think about it, the root of self-care is setting boundaries. It's saying no to something in order to say yes to your own emotional, physical, and mental well-being. Remember the signs that you need boundaries. You feel overwhelmed. You feel resentful toward people for asking for your help. You avoid phone calls and interactions with people who might ask for something. You make comments about helping people and getting nothing in return. You feel burned out. You frequently daydream about dropping everything and disappearing. You have no time for yourself. Communication. Verbally communicating your needs is step 1. People cannot accurately assume your boundaries based on your body language or unspoken expectations. When you explicitly state what you expect, there is little room for others to misinterpret what works for you. Assertive statements are the most effective way to do this. Verbally communicating your boundaries sounds like this. When we have a disagreement, I'd like you to use a lower tone and take a break if you feel like you're getting too heated in the argument. Also, I will mention when I'm becoming uncomfortable with your tone. It's important to me that you honor plans that we set up.